Welcome to Cape Town, South Africa. Hi, I'm Megan, a licensed New York City tour guide and a travel content creator. And South Africa has been a bucket list item for me for several years. So I've worked my tail off, I've saved up my pennies, and I finally made it here with my best friend, Kat. We are doing a group tour that includes Cape Town, a safari on a private game reserve, and a trip to the Winelands. And we're also exploring a little bit on our own. So I thought that I would make a video that lets you know what we think we did right and what we think we did wrong, so you too can have your very best South Africa experience. But before we get started, make sure that you click subscribe so you never miss a travel minute.
Yeah, muffin talk. Ooh, muffin talk. Muffin talks, bringing healing to those who need the most.
One of the first things I learned about Cape Town, I learned pretty much as soon as I got off of the airplane. There were signs all over the airport saying, "Welcome to the Mother City." And I didn't know why Cape Town was called the Mother City, so I asked. It turns out it got this name because it was the first formally established modern city in South Africa. It was established in 1652 as a Dutch trading city, and it was so successful as a trading city that it inspired other cities in South Africa. Now, in 1930, a local newspaper said that Cape Town is the only city that can officially call itself a metropolis. Now, metropolis comes from Greek, and metro means mother, and polis means city, hence Mother City. So that is why Cape Town today is known as the Mother City. It's worth noting that South Africa has 11 official languages, and one of the languages that you're going to run into a lot is called Afrikaans. Afrikaans is a Western Germanic language that has its roots in Dutch. So something that I notice when I'm walking around, I see a lot of words and a lot of names of different locations that sound German or Dutch to me, but they're not German or Dutch. That is because they are Afrikaans. But don't worry, if you don't speak Afrikaans, almost everybody, at least in the areas that we've been, speak English. To the best of my understanding, English is the urban language of public life. All of the newspapers, television stations, radio stations are in English. However, it is worth noting that only 1 in 10 South African families speak English at home. Having 11 different official languages means that South Africa has 11 different linguistic stories constantly interacting with one another. So as you can imagine, it also has some unique words and lingo. So before you come, you'll want to learn some of this lingo. So here are a few words. A barbecue is called a braai. Now roll that R. A drink at sunset is called a sundowner, and often a sundowner is a gin and tonic. Now, robots are what they call traffic lights. And then when it comes to time, there's some interesting expressions. So they'll say now now. If they say now now, that means shortly. And my understanding is that this originates from Afrikaans. They say now now, which roughly translates to soon. And then just now means later. So if you say, I'm gonna go get the car just now, that means that you will get the car later. In terms of public transportation, the only public transportation that we took was Uber, which isn't really public transportation. Now, the reason why we did not take the public transportation system in Cape Town was because locals told us not to. They told us that we would not find it safe. So we didn't take it. I can't report back on whether or not we found it safe, but we did find Uber to be really fast, effective, and a lot cheaper than it is in New York City. Also, speaking of transportation, if you're thinking about renting a car, something that a lot of locals mention to us is that it's really hard to find parking in Cape Town. So you'll spend most of your time just kind of wandering around trying to find parking. So you might want to take that into consideration. Apparently, a lot of locals, instead of owning a car, use Uber. While we're talking about transportation, I know that in New York City, I usually use my own 2 feet to walk around an awful lot. And there are areas where you can walk in Cape Town, but I personally have not found this to be an incredible walkable city. There are areas that you can easily walk to depending on where you're staying, but if you want to get to something such as Boulders Beach, where the penguins are, it took us like 45 minutes to drive there, so I can only imagine how long it would take to walk. So do at least plan an Uber budget. In South Africa, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, so the same as England. This is important to keep in mind, if you are considering to drive here in South Africa. It's also important to keep in mind while you're walking, because we were told that the polite thing to do is to walk on the left-hand side of the sidewalk. Also, if you get into any sort of car or an Uber, you don't want to be shocked at the fact that the driver is on the right-hand side of the car and the passenger sits in the area that we as Americans would consider to be the driver's seat. Something that I've received a lot of mixed messages about before I came was whether or not the tap water in Cape Town was safe to drink, or in South Africa in general is safe to drink. And now that I'm here, I'm still receiving mixed messages about it. The general consensus whenever Kat and I have asked people, such as our hotel concierge or our host on the tour that we're doing, is that for us traveling from America, we should not drink the tap water. And one of the reasons for this is because of load shedding. That is where they turn off all of the electrical supplies, sometimes for up to 12 hours in one day. And that also affects the water filtration systems. And that means that there's going to be things in the water that you don't want to drink. A lot of the locals we talk to say that they usually boil their tap water before they drink it, but it is fine for doing things like brushing your teeth and cleaning off your produce. However, some locals that we talked to said that they drink water right out of the tap. But as for us, we've been using the purified water. Talking about water, when you get to Cape Town, something that you are going to learn is that relatively recently there was a very long and traumatic drought. It really only ended in 2018. And during this drought, whether you were a millionaire or someone living on the streets, you were limited to only something like 50 liters of water a day. Now that was used for flushing your toilets, taking your shower, cooking your food, brushing your teeth. That's really not a lot of water for someone's daily use. So they found all of these interesting water conservation efforts, such as taking very short showers. And the very first hotel that I stayed in here, there was a bucket for collecting excess water, so not a drop went to waste. So when you come, know that some of the hotels might be set up in a way that has memories of that drought. We were told that some of the bathtubs, you have to ask for the plug for the bathtub, just so the hotels can keep track of the water usage. And sometimes they're set up for you to take a 5-minute shower. Fortunately, the hotels that we've stayed in, I got to luxuriate in my shower. But do know that that drought is still very alive in locals' minds. One of the coolest things to do in Cape Town is to visit a place called Boulders Beach. Now, what makes Boulders Beach so special is that there are penguins there. Now, these are penguins that migrated in the 1980s to this area, and my understanding is it was to escape disease in their hometown. And it's one of the only places in the world where you can get really close to this specific species of African penguin. Now, it's so cute, you can take lots of photos, but do remember that you are in their home and they are endangered. So do not touch the penguins, and we were told to stay about 6 feet away from the penguins. Now, if you do touch them, they will bite you. And I have been told that if they bite you, you will need stitches. So that's good motivation to not touch the penguins, but do take all the photos that you want. Now, something that's very important if you are visiting Boulders Beach is it is a beach. So you have to pay attention to the tides. At high tide, there's almost no beach. And even as it was, we were there, I think, 2 or 3 hours after low tide, and we had to walk through a decent amount of water from the way that we entered to get to the penguins. Which should also give you a little bit of advice. Don't wear clothes that you don't mind getting wet, come prepared to get wet. We wore flip-flops and it was awesome. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I would say that it is a must-do when you visit Cape Town. If you plan on swimming in the ocean in Cape Town, do know that there are sharks. Now, after one particularly brutal shark attack, they decided to set up a system to warn the public about sharks and help keep everybody safe. So they have shark spotters. Now, these shark spotters, they sit on a hut on a mountain, and they have binoculars, and they look down at the water and try to spot sharks. And they have a whole flag system to help the public know whether or not a shark has been spotted. Now, if you see no flag on the beach, that means that there is no shark spotter. If you see a green flag, that means feel free to swim. There are no sharks in that water. If you see a red flag, that means that there was a shark spotted earlier, but he's not there now, so kind of proceed with caution. If you see a white flag, that means that there is a shark in the water. Do not swim. Get out of the water. And if you see a brown flag or a black flag, that means that conditions are such that you can't really spot the sharks if you are the shark spotter. So again, swim at your own risk. So they're trying to keep everybody safe, and I do just want to not scare anybody. I do think that you can go swimming in the water. There are I think more people die from hippo attacks than shark attacks every year, and there are more human bites in New York City reported just in New York City every year than there are shark bites in the whole world. So maybe you should feel less safe in a crowded elevator in New York City than you do in the ocean. This area used to be known as the Cape of Storms. It got that name when this was established by the Dutch as a trading city, and it was very, very difficult for ships to get around the corner, so there were lots of shipwrecks. Now, the Cape of Storms makes an amazing name for a fantasy novel, but it's terrible marketing if you're trying to get people to come and visit a city. So the Dutch decided to change the name to the Cape of Good Hope, as in, we hope that our ships can get around this area without sinking. Now, the Cape of Good Hope has had over 650 shipwrecks off of the coast, which makes it really fabulous for scuba diving. But if you do come to scuba dive these shipwrecks, just make sure that you bring your warmest wetsuit, because the waters can get really cold, like 45 degrees Fahrenheit cold. Behind me is a mountain range called the 12 Apostles. It is gorgeous. It is stunning. You are going to want to take so many photos of this mountain range. But here's something that's really interesting. Now, the name 12 Apostles would make you think that there are 12 mountains. There are not 12 mountains. However, I can't tell you how many mountains there are, because no one seems to agree on this fact. I have heard everything from 13 mountains, 17 mountains, 18 mountains. I looked online, I get different answers. Our tour guides have given us different answers. I can't tell you. But the one thing everyone agrees on is that there are more than 12. Cape Town has a very unique ecosystem, and one of the most prominent and important features of this ecosystem is Fynbos. You're going to encounter Fynbos a lot. Fynbos includes a huge variety of plant species, most of which are small heather-like trees or shrubs. It's used in food, in soap, in decorations. Fynbos makes up 80% of the Cape Floral Kingdom, which is more diverse than the Amazon rainforest, and it has several unique features, including the fact that Fynbos dates back 400 million years, so dinosaurs would have known it. And Fynbos is not only able to tolerate fire, but it needs fire for the seeds to germinate. A great place to learn more about Fynbos is the Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden, which is well worth a visit during your time in Cape Town. South Africa has a Mediterranean climate, which means that it's perfect for growing grapes. And if it's perfect for growing grapes, that means that it's perfect for making wine. This means that there's going to be vineyards all over South Africa. Now in Cape Town, there's one called Castantia Glen that does wine tastings. We went there, it was absolutely fabulous. There's Silver Mist Organic Winery. That is where a restaurant called La Colombe is located. And then if you take just about a 45-minute to an hour drive away, you're in the Winelands. So when you come, prepare to sip lots of wine. Something that I did not know before coming to South Africa is that they are really well known for their gin. I knew that they were known for their wines, but I didn't know that they were known for their gin. So there's lots of great South African gin that we have been experiencing. Also, a fun story that we were told is that the sailors used to drink a lot of gin and tonics because I believe it was their tonic water didn't taste good. The gin made it taste better, but the tonic water protected them from scurvy. So gin, it's medicinal. Whenever you travel, tipping is always a question. So what is the deal with tipping in South Africa? Well, our tour guide told us that similar to the United States, many professions, including wait staff and car drivers, do depend on tips to make a living wage. And the appropriate amount to tip is between 10 to 20%. So make sure that you leave your tip. And we have also been tipping our tour guides. Something that I never thought that I would do is take a tourist helicopter ride. I am so scared of helicopters, but our tour group did a helicopter ride. It lasted for 12 minutes with a company called Cape Town Helicopters, and it was actually so much fun. We got stunning views, fabulous video footage. Our pilot was so nice. He made me feel much more calm, and he was able to do a little bit of tour guiding. We went over Robben Island, which is where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned, I believe, for 18 years, and we got to look down at the water, and apparently sometimes you can see whales there. I believe the helicopter rides are about $130 per person, and I believe that they are definitely worth the splurge. Another super fun thing that I never thought I would do is tandem biking. That's biking on a bicycle built for two. It was actually a lot easier than I expected, and we went for about an hour-long tandem bike ride along the shoreline, and it was such a beautiful way to experience the shoreline. And if you are traveling alone, just a normal bike would totally suffice. So I've never biked on a vacation before, and I really liked it. So I would say bike in Cape Town. Something you will learn when you come to South Africa is that they love their rugby team. Their rugby team is called the Springboks. If you want to cheer for them, you go Boka! They have won the Rugby World Cup more times than any other team in Rugby World Cup history. I know because I was there when it happened, watching in a sports bar in Cape Town. So I have this lovely Springbok shirt, and their colors are green and yellow. So if you want to cheer for rugby, get some gear. I talk about these bags in my Italy video as well. I'm obsessed with them. I use them in New York, and I really love them when I travel. These are Travel-On anti-theft bags. So the way that these work is the zippers actually kind of clip on here, so it makes it harder for somebody to steal something, and there's like a wire in the strap so someone can't cut it off of you. But they actually hold a lot. They have lots of little pockets, so you could put like your passport in one, keep it nice and safe. And this one has a little water bottle pack. So these Travel-On bags, I have them in my Amazon storefront, so I'll put the link in the comments below. Something that's worth noting in South Africa, which you probably already know if you're traveling here, but if you don't, the seasons are reversed. That means December, January, they are experiencing their summer weather. October, November, they're experiencing spring. And then what we would consider spring in the United States, they are experiencing fall. And what we would consider to be summer, they are experiencing winter. So just pack accordingly. Wind is a major factor in Cape Town. So when you come to Cape Town, there are some activities such as kayaking or riding a cable car up to the top of Table Mountain that might get canceled due to wind. We've had a lot of very windy days. The wind usually picks up, at least in our experience, in the afternoon. But we've had 3 days where some of these activities have been canceled and we've just had to change our plans. Fortunately, Cape Town has a ton of awesome things to do. So if the cable car up to Table Mountain gets canceled, go sit in a winery and drink a nice glass of wine. As you can tell, it is quite windy today in Cape Town. Something that our tour guide told us was that it's very common later in the day, in the afternoons, for the winds to pick up. So be prepared for some beautiful hair photos. Something you will notice when you come to South Africa is how much apartheid still affects almost every aspect of life here. Pretty much any question that you ask, why does this neighborhood look like this? Why is there load shedding? Why is this road closed? The answer can almost always be traced back to apartheid. Now, before you come, I would strongly recommend that you do some research on apartheid and Nelson Mandela, who is very much regarded as a hero here in Cape Town. And as you do your research, it could be really interesting to compare and contrast apartheid and how it ended to America's Jim Crow laws and how that ended. Now, I'm going to be honest and say that it's not my area of expertise, but it is fascinating to study and is very present here in the culture of South Africa. Bo-Kaap is an area of Cape Town that's known for these beautiful, brightly colored houses that are perfect for taking photos. And while it is one of the most Instagrammable places in all of Cape Town, it also has a really rich and at times even tragic history that I strongly recommend that you learn about by taking a tour with a local guide. Essentially, in the 18th century, this is where Malay slaves lived. Now, in 1834, there was an Emancipation Act, and the legend is that the houses they lived in were painted white. And after emancipation, they wanted to express their joy with freedom, so that's why they're painted all of those bright colors. Now, while you're there, I also recommend that you get a taste of local culture, quite literally. There is a spice shop called Atlas Spice Shop. You can get these amazing spices at ridiculously inexpensive prices, and also try some local treats. We tried some sweets and they were amazing. South Africa has an energy crisis, and chances are when you come to visit, you will be very aware of this, mainly because there is something called load shedding. Load shedding is nationally scheduled blackouts where the electricity goes out sometimes for 12 hours. And when these blackouts happen, that means that you can't turn the lights on, you can't charge your electronics. If you have a refrigerator, it might not keep food cool. Anything that uses electricity, you won't be able to use. And this has caused a huge economic crisis in South Africa, especially for small businesses. For example, a small restaurant that has food in a refrigerator, and if the power goes out for 12 hours and they can't afford a backup generator, what's going to happen to that food? Now, chances are if you're staying in a fancy hotel, then that hotel will have a backup generator, so your electricity will keep going and you'll be totally fine. But if you're staying in a smaller hotel or perhaps an Airbnb, you will definitely be aware of it, and you'll be aware of it as you walk around town. Now, there are apps that you can download. I'll put one in the link in the comments below. I believe it's called Loadshedding Notifier that will tell you when the load shedding will happen. You sometimes don't find out until the night before, but that will at least help you plan around load shedding. Cape Town has amazing food. It is so delicious, and one restaurant that really stood out was called La Colombe. Now, La Colombe was actually rated one of the 50 best restaurants in the world, not in South Africa, in the world. And if the Michelin Guide decided to come to South Africa and give Michelin stars, I believe it would easily have 3 Michelin stars. The food was incredible. We dined for 5 hours. The service was exquisite. Just make sure that you make reservations far in advance because the secret's out and everybody loves it. Also, our entire tasting menu before we added alcohol was $60. I think per se's equivalent is $350 per person, but here it's only $60, so it is the foodie's dream. One of the best ways to eat like a local when you travel is to find the local farmers markets. Cape Town has amazing farmers markets. We went to one, I can't pronounce the full name, it's something like Orangect, and the initials are OZCF. And when I went, oh my goodness, the produce was the most beautiful, fresh looking produce that I had ever seen. And they had food ranging from baked goods to breads to teas to Asian buns to avocado toast. I got the avocado toast. It was amazing. So find these farmers markets and have a true local experience. If you're looking to truly treat yourself, whether it's a beautiful, luxurious hotel or a spa treatment, check out Mount Nelson Hotel in Cape Town. I just got a massage there. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm basically drunk on relaxation. And we're now having dinner. The restaurant's called The Veranda, and you get free sparkling rosé with dinner. Cheers. It's so good. Let's talk about shopping in South Africa. I love shopping. It's one of my favorite things to do when I travel. So let me tell you some things that I have observed about shopping in South Africa, based at least on my stay in Cape Town. So this is a wonderful place to come if you are looking for local boutiques, things that you can't buy anywhere else. There's a lot of local sellers. It will be a paradise for you. However, if you are looking for those high-end luxury brands like Burberry or Louis Vuitton, this is not where you want to buy it. It's going to be even more expensive because, to the best of my understanding, they have to pay a very high import tax to get it here. And they're going to be behind a season because it's turning summer here right now. It's turning winter in New York and Europe. So all the newest designs coming out are winter, and now Cape Town, to the best of my understanding, is getting last summer's designs here. So it's not the best place to go shopping for the super high-end products. Also, as of 2023, there's no Amazon here. I did read that they were planning on opening an Amazon in 2024, but right now, Amazon does not deliver to Cape Town. There's also not an Apple store. There is a verified Apple reseller called iStore where you can get your Apple products, but there's not actually an Apple store. There is also a store called Clicks. There's a bunch of them. They are all around. They're kind of, in my opinion, sort of like a Target. You can buy anything there. You can buy a curling iron. You can buy memory cards for your camera. You can buy beef jerky if you want. So that's a good thing to know about, and they are all over. If you're looking for really unique, one-of-a-kind local shopping, you want to go to the Watershed at the V&A Waterfront. This has over 365 different vendors, all selling these unique, locally made items. So if you're looking for a unique Cape Town gift, that is the place to go. It was so cool. I bought these amazing belts and this little toy giraffe for my brother. So cannot recommend it enough for those who love shopping. Also, in terms of shopping, in 2023, the exchange rate was massively in favor of the American dollar. So we got fabulous deals on food, beverage, and locally made products. Some people in our group even brought extra suitcases to bring all of their fabulous finds home. If you're looking for a safari experience near Cape Town, about a 5-hour drive away is Gondwana Game Reserve. It is a luxury private game reserve, so I'm out here drinking a hot chocolate right now. There are guides who will drive you around in very comfortable Jeeps. And you can search for the big 5. We had a close encounter with 3 giraffe. It was a dream come true. We saw lions fresh from a wildebeest lunch. We saw zebra. It's a wonderful chance to come out and take photos and see animals in a natural environment. The whole resort is really nice. The rooms are gorgeous. There's a pool and there is a restaurant. So if you want a safari experience, I recommend Gondwana Private Game Reserve. Something that surprised me to learn is that we were told that all the safari experiences in South Africa occur in enclosed private game reserves or national parks. Of course, these reserves and parks are giant, but they are fenced off areas that protect the animals from poachers and the surrounding communities from the animals. No one likes an elephant going through their trash in the morning. Your safari company should be able to advise you on what to pack for your experience depending on the time of year. We went in late October and actually found it quite chilly, so I was glad that I had my rechargeable hand warmers to keep me warm. Selfish plug. Visit my Amazon storefront linked in the comments to purchase them. They are true game changers. Something I discovered about Cape Town is the people here are so nice. Every single person that I've encountered, whether it be a tour guide, wait staff, someone working in a shop, someone in a hotel, a cab driver, they have just been the most friendly people. So when you come to Cape Town, just be prepared for a lot of smiles and a lot of really nice people. I hope that this has given you an idea of how you can have your very best South Africa experience. If you've been to South Africa, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Feel free to write it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you click subscribe. It helps me bring you more videos like this. So thank you so much for watching, and for more travel, follow me. Behind every great video is an even more fabulous co-creator slash camera person, and in this case it was my friend Kat. So thank you so much, Kat, for your patience and dedication to helping me make this video on your vacation. Happy traveling, everyone!